So look at the first point, what education is meant for. So it is meant for developing scientific temper in the young minds. What does it mean to have scientific temper? The person will be free from any kind of dogmatic beliefs. The person will have rational reasons for every response, for every behavioral response, and there won't be any other consideration than the rationality and reason. So what we call scientific temper is that kind of attitude to conduct as per the demand of rationality instead of any other consideration. Through education, we are also supposed to inculcate this aspect, humanism. What is humanism? Humanism is a belief regarding this very empirical reality in which we all are living, and taking this very reality in totality and not considering anything beyond this empirical reality for any kind of behavior, right? So through education, we want to inculcate this kind of spirit that first you need to ensure the safety, security, health, hygiene, etc. of the region, the space in which you are living. And if you are making hell of that thing in anticipation to something which is beyond this world, which is otherworldly, or any other such considerations, then that is not what we call humanism. Humanism is very broad concept, and this concept includes in its core what we call secularism. Secularism is in the core of what we call humanism. So we need to look for the welfare of the people in a very empirical sense, right? Empirical, I mean, we need to have a situation where we find hygienic conditions, fresh air, good mode of transportation, etc. And these things are facilitated so that we have a happy life, a good life on this very planet. And if we are creating nonsense on this very planet, then that is something which is very problematic. So through education, we want to inculcate that kind of spirit so that we value the present situation and conduct in an appropriate way. Through education, we also need to develop a spirit of inquiry, curiosity, and then this curiosity must lead to improve over the situation in which we are living. So curiosity is a kind of very much goal directed inner aspect of our personality. If we are curious only for the sake of curiosity, of course, to some extent that is also granted. Why? Because sometimes we raise questions which are not of very relevance to our present concern, or which may not be relevant at all, right? We raise principle-based questions, right? So that curiosity is essential. Why it is essential? Because we need to demarcate, or we need to figure out the limitations associated with our understanding. And that limitation of our knowledge can be realized only when we are curious about not only the things surrounding, but also things which in principle could be possible. So spirit of inquiry includes, in fact, a very broad perspective, a very broad scope. So where we, of course, look for something which is practical, and then also we look for something which is valuable, right? So through education, we want to inculcate that kind of spirit in the young minds so that they realize the significance of the presence, and also they see the limitations associated with the whole sphere of knowledge, and then aspire to improve on that. So inculcating the inquiry, inquisitive mind, and then a mind which is oriented towards reforming or improving on the present situation. So that's the broader objective of education. Then second point, you notice that through education we want to inspire the young minds so that they aspire for excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity. And why we require all these things? So that the nation constantly rises to the higher levels of endeavor and achievement. Remember, all the individual activities, all the activities which we undertake as a group member must have this national ideal in mind. The nation as such must live, must progress, and must lead to a more conducive, more favorable, and hospitable condition. Our effort must be directed towards that broader objective. So through education, we wish to achieve that. And then look at the third point. Through education, we want to inculcate a sense of responsibility towards the nation and creating awareness for a wholesome environment, right? So this is to make the planet Earth, a safer, a hygienic, healthy space of living, right? So unless we feel responsibility towards this very essential thing which is necessary for our well-being, so consider the national ideals of education. Through education, we want to achieve this. And now some of you must have noticed the new education policy draft, which is available on the Ministry of Education website. And I request all of you to look into that. And one day we had a discussion, and we wished that you all discuss among yourselves, and also whenever we open any portal for discussion, you also participate in that. So for that, for a meaningful participation, you need to look into the document which is proposed by the Government of India. Now, if you ask me what is the crux of the whole new education policy, I would say that it is oriented towards not only making the students learn, but also how to learn. And therefore, the responsibility of educators is expected, as per the new education policy, that you need not stuff the mind of students with all the things which you have learned so far, but try to give only the core or the basic things about that, and let the students have space to use their mind and think creatively. So it is not just making students learn, but also guiding them how to learn by yourself. So that is, in one line, if I say, crux of the new education policy. So the implication of that crux would be a drastic reduction in the number of credits which you are earning for your degree requirements. So you don't need to go into that much details. Only essential thing you learn from your core discipline, and then you must open your mind towards other disciplines so that you develop a kind of holistic vision regarding the area in which you want to work, right? So one effect of the new education policy is going to be like this, that there will be severe reduction in credits. The second effect would be that a student will have flexibility to choose courses in the available options. An engineering student can choose history. So you may have one particular area of, let us say, electronics, in which you are looking for specialization. And then the other things, as per your interest, as per your orientation, you can choose among a broad areas for your learning. That is going to happen through the new education policy. And then the third thing which I see, which is expected, that if you suppose after completing 1 year of your engineering are unable to carry on your studies and you are forced because of the situation or circumstances to do some job or have a break in your studies, so that would also be permissible within the scope of new education policy. After a year, you will be given some certificate and diploma, etc. Now, consider this we have seen that a teacher is expected to adhere to the national ideals of the education. So if you look at the preamble, there you find we want to ensure justice, liberty, and equality for all citizens, right? And whatever we do as a human being, as a citizen, as a professional, every time these things must be in our mind, right? This we have seen, the relationship between teacher and students. Here I wish to point out something which you may also not be that aware, that teachers are responsible for having a relationship with your parents, the guardians who are supporting you financially, emotionally to learn. To ensure that this regular interaction between teachers and guardians is a must. If it doesn't take place, there is a disaster. Some of you may have this feeling that so far in the whole system of education, there is some regular interaction between the teachers and parents, at least in schools. But in the higher education classes, that is most desirable thing yet to happen, right? Of course, if consider out of almost 1,700 students of our university, every semester I used to meet not more than 5 parents, and for that meeting I don't take any initiative. In fact, when your parents visit to you, and if I'm there in the office, so you come with your parents, and I feel it very positive initiative. But then it's also my feeling that the parents whom I meet, their children are not problem creators. They are very nice, in fact. So my interaction with their parents, of course, courtesy meeting, but in order to change the behavior of the student, the problematic ones don't bring their parents to us, right? Maybe they fear that, yes, hamari poll khul jayegi, right? So this relationship between teacher and guardian is very important, and this is one of the professional duties of teachers. Then you must have noticed that a very cordial environment is essential for carrying out teaching and learning responsibility. So teachers must respect the colleagues, whether they are teaching colleagues or non-teaching colleagues. So there must be a cordial relationship. This is a kind of moral responsibility, and not just moral, it is also a legal responsibility that we don't disturb, we don't create, we don't disrespect our colleagues. This is more of preaching. If you look, the first point, treat your colleagues the way you wish yourself to be treated, right? This more of preaching, a very general and very what we call golden rule of behavior. But what happens normally, we find different levels, level of competencies, different levels of awareness, and different status of knowledge, etc. So some are not at the same plane. Now, is it not our responsibility to help our colleagues if they don't know something, if they are failing in up to mark performance in the classes or in the offices? Is it not our responsibility to help them so that they become a good professional. Now look at the situation in the institutions, in our institution, that is immediate reference point, how much we help our colleagues to understand something better. Certainly it takes place, but the amount is not so very encouraging, right? So we require a much more engagement among the colleagues so that everyone is ready to help whatever the person knows and makes the other person aware, so that we all together deliver professional services much more efficiently. So we must render help for professional betterment of all our colleagues, right? So chit chatting is of course happening, and the amount of chit chatting is more than the amount of meaningful interaction among the professionals, right? So if I know something, so I must share it with my colleagues. If my colleague knows something which I don't know, so I must be uh, receiving that thing, welcoming that thing from my colleagues. And that kind of environment is essential for professional. And this is not just true of teachers also. It is true of any professional, right? Refrain from lodging unsubstantial allegations against anyone in fact. टीचर के रेफरेंस में देखिए कि कोई कलीग के अगर मान लो क्लास में ढंग से नहीं कर पा रहा है, तो हम उसको बुला के अगर बात करते हैं तो ज़्यादा बेनिफिशियल होगा। अगर उसको समझाते हैं, कुछ पॉइंट डिस्कस कर लेते हैं, तो वो ज़्यादा बेनिफिशियल होगा। टीचर्स एंड अथॉरिटीज, सो यू सी the UGC has given this guideline that teachers and authorities must be in a cordial relation. So it is because I am an employee of the organization and there is a hierarchy of authorities within the organization that teachers are supposed to discharge the duties as per rules and procedures set by the organization. When we talk of discharging duties, not as a teacher, but as a person helping the, let us say, office of the head or the office of dean or the in charge of different activities, extracurricular, curricular activities, etc. So there I am not a teacher, right? I am just an employee, and it is my professional duty as an employee to engage myself in rendering these administrative services, right? So that the organization, the administration of the university functions smoothly. तो पॉलिसी फॉर्मुलेट करने में हेल्प करना, कोऑपरेटिंग विद द अथॉरिटीज एंड अडहियरिंग टू द कंडीशंस एक्सेट्रा, सो एज पर रूल करना है. So treating everyone as a colleague with respect, and then there are certain joint efforts between teachers and non-teaching staff. So we all are supposed to collaborate and then help each other to improve.